What's up guys, Lon here from Android Authority, and welcome back to another episode of Camera 360, where we attempt to break down a smartphone camera in 3 minutes, give or take. Now our goal on this show is to highlight some of the most important aspects of a smartphone camera that we think you should know, and we try to do it in a very short and sweet fashion. Now if you guys are interested in a more in-depth analysis, you can always check out the written version of our review, which will always be linked in the description below. With all of that out of the way, let's get into today's episode with the OnePlus 7 Pro. Like many smartphones in 2019, the OnePlus 7 Pro comes equipped with a triple camera system on the rear. The primary camera is the oh-so-popular 48 megapixel Sony sensor, and it's paired with an 8 megapixel telephoto lens with 3x optical zoom, and an ultra-wide-angle 16 megapixel camera with a 117 degree field of view. The front-facing camera also comes in at 16 megapixels and supports features like portrait mode and face unlock. OnePlus's software has always struck a perfect balance between simplicity and features, and the same can be said about their camera app. You've got the usual shutter button, camera rotation, and image preview buttons at the bottom, and right above that are 4 simple modes. You've got video, photo, portrait, and nightscape. Along the top, you'll find additional options that will vary based on which mode you're in. More advanced modes like the manual pro mode and the camera settings can be accessed by swiping up from the bottom. It's a really easy camera app to navigate, and everything that you're looking for is really only a couple of taps or swipes away. Now most smartphone cameras typically perform pretty well in daylight conditions, and the OnePlus 7 Pro is really no different. Images are well exposed and details are quite sharp. Colors pop just enough to make photos look attractive, and skies exhibit a really nice bright blue. Colors overall are really well balanced, and the OnePlus 7 Pro does a great job with saturation, vibrancy, and contrast to make photos come to life. Dynamic range could be a little bit better, as shadows tend to be much harsher than we'd like, and we don't really see much detail in these areas. Close-up shots of subjects retain a lot of detail, and there's very little softening when you zoom in for a closer look. The details in the thread of this ball of yarn can be seen clearly, and there's plenty of texture on the meat and cheese on this Mexican dish. The OnePlus 7 Pro's camera is certainly punching above its weight here. Portrait mode on the OnePlus 7 Pro is pretty convincing, but doesn't exactly stand out from other smartphones in its class. It doesn't have much trouble with outlining a subject and separating it from the background, and even does surprisingly well with complex edges from things like hair. You'll have to look pretty carefully to find mistakes, but we're not particularly a fan of how some shots wind up with a hazy effect. In low light, you have the option of shooting photos in auto like normal, or relying on OnePlus's nightscape mode. Results in auto mode are a little underwhelming, as noise is pretty apparent and there's a noticeable amount of softening. Turn on nightscape though, and you'll instantly get better results. Exposure, dynamic range, colors, and sharpness are significantly improved, and you can see much more detail in highlights and shadowy areas. Nightscape does take a little bit of extra time to capture these images, but the results are definitely worth it. As far as selfies from the front-facing camera go, it's pretty average at best. Exposure is good, but colors are a little on the washed out side. The OnePlus 7 Pro also likes to over-soften skin, which is something we're not particularly a fan of with front-facing shooters. The OnePlus 7 Pro does pretty well when it comes to recording video. Colors and exposure are on point, and autofocus is fast and smooth. Despite recording on the back of a moving motorbike, the footage was still surprisingly very smooth given the conditions. You should have no problems getting smooth footage if you're just casually walking and vlogging. It's also pretty nice to have 4K resolution at 60 FPS as a recording option. Overall, the OnePlus 7 Pro's camera provides a nice value with good performance in most conditions, but it doesn't necessarily go above and beyond expectations. Most people should still be plenty happy with this camera though, and it offers quite a bit of features and versatility with its 3 lenses. We gave the OnePlus 7 Pro an overall score of 7.84 out of 10. If you want to see a detailed breakdown of the score or find out some more in-depth details on our thoughts about the OnePlus 7 Pro's camera, check out our written review in the description below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode of Camera 360.